Royd Tolkien, welcome. Thank you very much for taking the time out to answer a couple of questions. First of all, I want to start with the obvious question. It's the Tolkien family. The impact that it's had on your life, growing up as a Tolkien, has it sort of given you any inspiration to do stuff of your own, but in a similar vein?
No.
At all? You've not even been tempted?
No, I haven't really. I'm not a writer.
Yeah.
You know, a writer of stories and fantasy stories. And also, I think, you know, it would be very difficult because I would be really judged.
Yeah.
You know, my work would be picked over with a fine-tooth comb.
Not even if you did it like under a pseudonym or ghostwriting?
Yeah, but you know what? I'm just not that. I'm not, you know, into that side of things. I've kind of always been involved with sort of behind-the-scenes stuff. Like, and I mentioned, like, in the Q&A, on, you know, putting gigs on and band management, and now sort of producing. It's all that sort of behind the scenes. So I'm more into that side of things than, you know, sort of writing fantasy literature or anything like that.
Yeah, gotcha. As far as the actual films are concerned, they attracted. I mean, they're absolutely fantastic films. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of people sort of sitting on the fence, or some people sort of opposed to them because of the impact that they thought it had on Tolkien's legacy.
Yeah.
Personally, I agree with what you said in your Q&A earlier. It's basically saying it brought it to more people get interested. My 7-year-old son loves it. He plays Lego Star Wars and Lego Lord of the Rings. That's all he plays.
Yeah.
And he absolutely loves Lord of the Rings because of that.
Yeah.
I think that's a positive thing. It has to be.
Absolutely, yeah.
What are your feelings about that? Is that exactly what you think, or do you feel it should have really stayed in the realms of literature? Because it was written as a huge work of literature. Should it have stayed there? Should it be branching out into toys and computer games? Do you think that cheapens it at all?
Well, I think it's inevitable when something like that, you know, such a massive work,
yeah,
you know, it's bound to be, you know, changed into different mediums. I mean, you know, it was originally and is a book, and I always try and say to anyone that I keep them separate. When I watch the films, I'm watching, you know, some excellent films that I really enjoy and love, you know, done by some incredible people.
Yeah.
You know, unbelievable task that they had. But if I want to go back to its purest form, if I want to go back and see the original works and still be lost in that world, as I was lost when I was a kid, I'll still read the book. And it hasn't put me off reading the book. Yeah. I'll read it just as much as if the films didn't even exist. So I think, you know, I firmly keep them separate. You know, I don't watch the film thinking, oh, you know, what's this new character in the Hobbit?
Yeah, why have they changed that?
You know,
why have they added that?
On?
Yeah.
I just enjoy the films.
Yeah.
And actually, I did mention it in that One Ring interview, but the last book I read was Princess Bride.
Yeah.
Brilliant book. I'm a massive fan of the film. I've seen the film like 5 times. It's fantastic. But I still read the book. Yeah. And I still think the book actually was brilliant. It's got so much more to it. You know, that you can, you know, separate them. Yeah. But there are a lot of purists out there that absolutely can't, and that's fine. You know, everyone has a choice.
Well, the thing is, the books aren't going anywhere. You know, they'll always have the book.
Absolutely,
so. But I mean, I think even Tolkien himself said he understood the difficulty. And Douglas Adams said the same thing about Hitchhikers. He understands the difficulty. They are 2 completely different mediums.
Yes. Yeah.
And but I think what Jackson did with the films was fantastic.
Oh yeah,
and it's fun. It's enjoyable. It's an adventure.
Yes.
So and that's what makes the difference. For me.
Yeah. I think as well, like when I watch the films. You're escaping for that 3-hour period of time, you know, and that's great. And when you read the books, you can escape for a lot longer, and you can walk through the book slowly and really kind of like breathe the air in and you know, sort of visualize. I'm a very visual reader, so when I read the books, I'm there. Yeah. You know, I'm like as though I'm witnessing what's going on. It's more for me. It's more like a diary than a a fictional account of like
stories that never happened. Yeah. I mean, it's in some respects you could call it like an exercise in world building. Yeah. Because he's building and he's walking you through the entire world that he's built.
Yeah.
It's brilliant. Do you have an acting future? Because you've done these extras. I know that you had a small role in the film Pimp.
Yes.
And I mean, you do a lot of producing, but have you thought about sort of branching out, maybe doing a bit more acting?
No. Yeah. I mean, I don't know really. I don't know. I've never trained to be an actor, and I've got friends that are actors, and I've had a lot of training. It's very difficult. I don't know if I could act. You know, I don't know really. I'd give it a shot. I'd love to.
If anything came up, if somebody came along to you and said, "Yeah, do you fancy a part in this?" I mean, say like a BBC drama, or even like a radio play, or even a full-blown film?
I'd
Was it something
probably-
that you would dive into, sort of?
Well, I don't know. I'd have to see what it would be.
Yeah.
Because, as I said, I've absolutely never trained, and
Yeah.
I wouldn't imagine in a million years that I could just simply dive into acting.
You've obviously got a book for the movie and the film and the TV
Yeah.
business
Yeah.
after your experiences on Return of the King. I was just wondering if you'd like to take it a bit further than just being behind the camera.
That'd be cool, yeah.
Yeah.
I'll definitely. I've had a few people say actually in the industry that they think I would make a good actor.
Yeah.
I just sort of come across well like that.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Go for it.
I would, yeah.
And what does the future hold for you? I mean, you were talked about your projects with your brother on the stage.
That's absolute.
Is that what you're 100% focused on at the moment?
It is, yeah.
Would you like to just quickly explain exactly what that's about?
Yeah, it's my brother was diagnosed with motor neuron disease, which is a really aggressive terminal illness, and what it does is it robs you of your ability to do everyday normal things that would normally be simple. So he's got muscle loss in his arms and his legs, and he's very, very little use of his hands, so he can't do a lot of things for himself. And it's awful. You're a prisoner within this shell of a body, and your mind stays completely intact and as it always has been. And this is particularly difficult in Mike because he was so active and a real adrenaline junkie as well. So it's awful for anyone to get something like this, and I had no idea what it was. When we were told it was motor neuron disease 2 years ago, we had no idea. We thought, oh, okay, well, there must be treatment. And then obviously when we found out about it, there is no treatment, there's no medical cure, nothing conventional, and very little help. There are organisations like, and I mentioned in the Q&A, there's a brilliant Motor Neuron Disease Association, but the only thing you can really do is be positive and do positive things. And what Mike's been doing, as a family, what we all do, is try and look at as many different sort of alternative treatments, and it might be dietary. He's on he's very healthy now, and his complexion is great. I mean, he looks very healthy, but he's just in a body that doesn't respond in any normal way like it used to. So it's awful and it's horrible, like deeply upsetting seeing him like that. But what you have to do is be positive, and he's an absolute example of positivity. Is that he's staying very positive and he's staying very firm in and still having a laugh, and so that's what we're doing. And the idea is that because he was this massive adrenaline junkie, semi-pro paintballer, did wakeboarding, all this kind of stuff. I'm opposite. I'll prefer doing a bit of gardening and drinking a cup of tea and that kind of thing, and having a quiet night in. So what he wants to do, and he's always wanted to go to Queenstown in New Zealand, because it was the adventure capital, is the adventure capital of the world, where all the crazy like Nevis High Wire bungee is and all that kind of stuff. And so he's asked me to do his bucket list, which is the name of the idea of the film is There's a Hole in My Bucket. Because obviously he's got a hole in his bucket and he wants to do a bucket list. So he's challenged me to do these different things that he would have done himself. And the idea behind it is that because as a family we'd do anything for him, and the best thing that he can do is smile and laugh and enjoy himself as much as he possibly can, and also importantly take his mind off what he's going through, because it's awful. He's literally he's stuck in either his chair or his wheelchair, and he can't really get himself going. He has an electric wheelchair. It's an awful condition to have, to be prisoner in your own body, and so to make him smile and make him positive like that, and so he asked me to do various things that he would want to do. So what I'm doing is I'm going to face my fears, which is all that stuff, in the same way that he's facing his fears on a minute-by-minute, daily basis. 24/7, he's living with this, and he can't get away from it. I can, jump off a cliff and be absolutely scared senseless. But in a couple of minutes it's over, and but that's facing a small piece of fear. He's got this mountain to face in front of him, and it won't get any better.
Yeah.
But it might, and it's about being as positive as possible. And a trip to New Zealand, where we'll have this experience, and maybe if you smile and laugh a lot and you're very positive in your life, that's only going to do you very good things to you.
Yeah.
But he knows that. I've said to him, literally anything, whatever. So he knows that, and in the same way that I would to him, I'd make him do all kinds of stupid shit. So he's probably going to make me do that. So it's about that, and it's a journey of discovery. It's raising awareness about motor neuron disease. Massively underfunded. Not a lot of support out there. We're very lucky because we as a family have rallied round. I've got an older sister, and a mother and a father, and and his good mates and my good friends. We've all rallied round and we're supporting him, doing things. But you think about someone that's going through this as a single parent, or someone that's on their own that hasn't got family. It must be awful. And it needs people's help. It needs to raise awareness of it, so people realise that, because you get something like this, it's just there's not a lot of positivity that you can get out of it. So having this trip, Mike meeting me and Mike meeting other people in the same, with the same condition, to work off each other, and and Mike's in a good place mentally. Very difficult to stay in that good place. But if you can impart that, and a film like this may inspire someone and give someone a new lease of life to fight and not give up, then that's a good thing. Absolutely. When will we see this? Is it a documentary TV show, or? Well, the idea is to make it into a documentary feature film. Right. Gotcha. But what I'm doing now is looking for funding for it. So I'm building a teaser trailer. I've done a little bit of filming of me and Mike and whatnot. So we're putting a trailer together, and then just going out there and seeing what the interest is and trying to generate it, and then planning the trip for New Zealand. But it's it's a moving goal. That Mike's on a ticking clock. And it's trying to get it done as quickly as possible. New Zealand's moving into winter, so and cold's not very good for him. He freezes up and kind of it's almost like seizes his ability, and so it's just about trying to do it as best as possible. And getting it out there and getting it done. Fantastic. Yeah. Wonderful. Thank you very much for your time. I do appreciate it. And good luck with your future projects. Thank you very much. Thank you. Appreciate it.